This is the Gemilai Whale G3038A. It is a heat exchanger espresso machine with an E61 Brew Group. After using it for a few weeks, I feel it is a solid machine that I can recommend to espresso lovers who want something compact but capable. You get a full box of accessories so you can start using it right away. There is a drip tray with a decent capacity, so you do not need to empty it too often. You get a 58mm 2-tab spouted portafilter with a walnut handle that feels good in the hand. There is also a 400ml stainless steel milk pitcher, which is enough for most home milk drinks. On the Brew Group, you can clip on a heat protection cover, which is included in the box. You also get a single basket and a cleaning disc for backflushing. The tamper is a solid spiral-based tamper with a walnut handle, and there is a brush and a screwdriver included as well. Overall, all the basic accessories are covered, so you do not really need to buy extra parts to get started. E61 machines always have that classic mechanical look, and this Gemilai Whale is no exception. It comes in 3 colors, and I picked the black version. The overall footprint is very small. Visually, it looks similar in size to the Owl, and it is actually smaller than the Gemilai Ellie. When you put it next to a dual boiler machine, the difference in size is very clear. The dark walnut accents with the matte black body give it a nice premium feel. On the back, there is a Gemilai logo that looks clean and modern. They're using a higher-end 8K mirror finish stainless steel, so you can see the top is literally like a mirror. The whole body uses thick metal panels, so when you look at the edge of the panel, you can see how substantial it is. There is a lot of metal in this machine, and that keeps the typical E61 sense of heft and build quality. The power switch is a toggle switch, just like on the Owl and the L models. On the right side, this button is for adjusting the overpressure valve. On the left side, you have the steam switch. On top of the group head, there is a pressure gauge that clearly shows your real-time brew pressure. During a shot, you can adjust the pressure on the fly using the knob on the top right. The response is very quick, so when you turn the knob, you see the pressure change almost immediately. The reading on the gauge is also very accurate. When I compared it with my external measuring tool, they basically matched. The steam wand is quite long, and you can move it freely to find a comfortable angle. It comes with a 3-hole steam tip, and it is controlled by a solenoid valve, so it reacts very fast. Since this is a heat exchanger machine, steam power is always strong and perfect for milk drinks. In the lower left corner, there is a small control panel. You can set P1, which controls the automatic pre-infusion time at low pressure to gently wet the coffee puck. This can be adjusted from 0 to 10 seconds. P2 is the pre-infusion pause time, which is the waiting time after wetting the puck. You can also adjust the steam boiler temperature up to a maximum of 135 degrees Celsius. Finally, you can change the temperature unit between Celsius and Fahrenheit. This is the classic E61 group head. You pull up the lever to start extraction, and many coffee lovers enjoy this tactile experience. The huge, solid brass group head heats up thoroughly and provides very good thermal stability during brewing. At the same time, it also acts as a big heat sink, so once it is fully warmed up, it becomes very hot to the touch. Gemilai includes a transparent heat protection cover that clips onto the group head. With it on, the surface feels less hot when you touch it. Personally, I still prefer the look without the cover, but it is nice to have the option. Since this is an E61 group, it is 58mm commercial size and compatible with standard 2-tab portafilters, so it is very easy to find a bottomless portafilter that fits. Now let me show you the internal design and build quality. It is very easy to open up this machine. You loosen the screws on the top, lift off the first cover, and then remove the metal plate underneath. Once that is off, you can see straight down into the internals from the top. On the side panel, there is a small cap that hides the screws. Take that cap off, remove the 4 screws, and the side panel slides out. In your hand, you can feel that the side panel is a thick and heavy piece of metal. The back panel can also be removed, so you can access almost every major component inside. The body is compact, so everything inside is packed quite tightly, but the layout is very clean and well organized. This is a heat exchanger machine. Inside, there is one main steam boiler, and you can see a smaller tube running through that boiler. To help visualize it, imagine a big cup acting as the steam boiler. The water in that boiler is heated up to steam temperature, and the upper part of the boiler is filled with steam, so steam is always ready when you need it. The narrow tube that passes through the boiler is for brewing. When you pull a shot, fresh water passes through that tube and gets heated by the hot water and steam surrounding it. Compared to a dual boiler machine, which has one boiler for brewing and another boiler for steam, a heat exchanger boiler takes up less space inside the machine. One nice advantage for home use is that your brew water always comes fresh from the water tank, passes through the tube, and then goes straight to the group head. If you only make 1 or 2 cups per day, you are basically brewing with fresh water instead of water that has been sitting in a brew boiler for days. The cold water lines use high-pressure plastic tubing, and the hot water lines are copper pipes. These T-fittings and valves are made from solid brass and feel very chunky, so durability should be quite good. Steam is controlled by a solenoid valve, which makes it very responsive. Compared to a traditional manual steam knob, this setup feels noticeably faster. You press the button and steam comes out almost instantly, which feels very nice in daily use. This is the overpressure valve. You can turn the knob to compress or release the spring inside to change your brew pressure. This keeps the pressure going to the boiler at your desired pressure. The extra water that gets bypassed is routed back to the water tank through a separate line, which helps reduce wastewater. This red component is the vibratory pump. It is mounted on a rubber base to absorb vibration, so the noise level is lower than if it were bolted directly to the frame. All of these solenoid valves and key parts are placed where they are easy to reach, so if you ever need to replace something in the future, it should be simple. Overall, I think the internal design, materials, and build quality are very solid, and with normal maintenance, this machine should last many years. Now let's talk about warm-up time and some temperature tips. Because the Gemilai Whale uses a large boiler and a full metal E61 group head, you need to give it enough time to fully heat up, just like any traditional heat exchanger or dual boiler machine. In my test, from a completely cold start to the boiler reaching a set temperature of 125 degrees Celsius took about 8 to 9 minutes. At that point though, the water at the group head was only around 50 degrees. The reason is that it takes longer for water to circulate between the boiler and the E61 group to bring all that metal up to temperature. In my testing, at around the 20-minute mark, the water at the group was roughly 87 degrees, and if I let it sit for another 5 minutes, the brew temperature climbed to around 93 degrees. So in practice, you're looking at least 20 minutes of warm-up time before the whole system is properly heated, which is pretty much in line with every E61 machine I've used. Once everything is fully heated, the temperature stability from that big boiler is excellent. The variation is within a few tenths of a degree, and it can hold that very steady for a long time. In other words, you don't need to worry about pulling back-to-back shots. Of course, there are some trade-offs. You cannot set the brew temperature independently. You're only adjusting the steam boiler temperature. And if you let the machine sit idle for a long time, the water in the heat exchanger tube keeps getting heated and eventually becomes too hot for brewing. That's just how heat exchanger machines behave. So before you pull a shot, it's usually a good idea to do a quick flush for a few seconds to bring the brew temperature back down into a more suitable range. Next, let's pull some shots and talk about extraction. I'm using 18 grams of coffee. The Gemilai Molite grinder pairs well with this machine. It has enough fine adjustment for espresso, so dialing in different roast levels is quite easy. Static control is very good, retention is low, and there is almost no flying coffee grounds. The ground coffee comes out very fluffy. You can use a catch cup or grind directly into the portafilter. Good puck prep is important. Using a WDT tool helps reduce channeling, and most puck prep tools on the market will fit this basket. The stock tamper feels smooth and comfortable to use. Now let's see how the shot looks. When you lift the lever, the machine starts with a few seconds of low pressure pre-infusion, and then the pressure ramps up. If you see the pressure going a bit higher than you want, you can turn the pressure knob slightly to bring it close to 9 bars. This means that even if your grind size is slightly off, you still have some room to adjust with pressure. Near the end of the shot, if you want to lower the pressure to reduce bitterness, you can also do that easily. Once you have dialed in your dose and grind, the output from this kind of machine is very consistent. The shot I got here is very nice. The whole extraction feels very controllable, and if you enjoy exploring different flavor profiles, the ability to adjust pressure during the shot can be fun. Now let's move on to steaming milk. This machine can brew espresso and steam milk at the same time, so I will show you the whole workflow. Before steaming, it is a good idea to purge the steam wand briefly to clear any condensation. Then start the shot and find a comfortable angle for the steam wand. Steam power is strong, and with the 3-hole tip, you only need a few seconds to introduce air into the milk. A vortex forms quickly, and after that, you just keep that whirlpool going to build a smooth texture. During this process, the brew pressure on the espresso side stays very stable. By the time the shot finishes, the milk is usually ready in about 40 seconds. The foam you get is very suitable for latte art. With strong steam, it is easier to produce glossy, flowing microfoam compared to many entry-level machines. The espresso itself has a nice, thick layer of crema, and because you don't have to wait long after the shot, both the coffee and the milk foam stay in a really good state, so pouring latte art feels super smooth. So at home, you can easily make different milk drinks that are pretty close to what you'd get in a good cafe. Daily maintenance is simple. The E61 group has an automatic pressure release, so after a shot, the puck is relatively dry and easy to knock out. After brewing, you can lift the lever briefly to rinse off the shower screen and then wipe it clean. Every day or every few days, you can use the cleaning disc to backflush the group. Put the cleaning disc in the basket, lock in the portafilter, lift the lever for 5 to 10 seconds, and then lower it. Water will be pushed out from the outlet at the bottom of the E61 and flow into the drip tray. Wait a few seconds and repeat this process a few times. Regular backflushing helps keep the internal path clean and keeps your coffee tasting its best. Finally, let me show you how to drain the boiler. First, take out the water tank and make sure the drip tray is empty. Then carefully tilt the machine on its side so you can see the bottom. Loosen the drain valve for the steam boiler and the brew chamber by turning them counterclockwise. Water will start flowing out from the outlet and slowly fill the drip tray. When the water has finished draining, pour out the water from the drip tray, wipe everything dry, and then tighten both drain valves again. After that, you are ready to go. If you have not used the machine for a long time, or you want to replace the water with fresh water, draining the boiler like this is a good idea. The next time you turn the machine on, it will pump fresh water from the tank into the boiler and fill it up again. This refilling process will use almost a full tank of water, so make sure the tank is filled before you start. To wrap up, after using this machine for about 2 weeks, I find it very enjoyable to use. The build quality and the espresso it produces are both at a high level. At the same time, the footprint is not large, and the price is lower than many dual boiler machines. So I think it is a good option for coffee lovers who want to move up to an E61 machine at home. This is my detailed review of the Gemilai Whale G3038A. If you have any questions about this machine, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.